Good evening. We are picking up where we left off last time, more or less. I did exactly one. Congratulations, Jigstraw, on being first. I did exactly one battle recollection, and then I got bored and I stopped. So I'm a little bit shy of the 15 that I would need to get through that node in the skill tree. Anyway, we've been challenged to a fight by Gilgamesh, and I'm probably going to get murdered because it's Gilgamesh. Not least because I've entirely forgotten how to play this game. Here we are. Yeah, the plan is basically go to the various food stalls, buy them out, and then try to win against Gilgamesh. Unless Gilgamesh, like, holds back or is nerfed, but it's Gilgamesh, he probably isn't. Oh, Yori, this is not coming from the food stuff. Yeah, the ones that are dine in, you don't keep. They're just applied immediately. Because they're dine in, you're not taking them out. Oh, now that you mention it, this enticing aroma is soy sauce. They must have just made grilled rice balls. Hey, don't you want to try one? They're freshly made after all. What to do? Yeah, let's buy. Nom nom. We're leaving as soon as you're done eating. What? That was weird. Take your time. This is a combination of, like, needing to restock on curatives in general and also Gilgamesh. Alright, defeat the boss. I think he said go to what's-its-face temple to challenge him. But the icon is pointing at him in his shop. So maybe I talk to him there to start the encounter. I'm closer to here than the temple, so I may as well try talking to him here. You would see you've prepared yourselves for death. Yes, I'm ready. I see. This mongrel can bark at least. Let us make for Torikoi's shrine. The King of Heroes has deigned to face you. Weep tears of joy, mongrels. Oh shit, he's wearing his armor. Yes, yeah. I've got a lot of pent-up resentment to work on. What resentment could you possibly have? We'll see how long you can talk like that. I like the Eastern spin on his armor. Boss, the Supreme King. I like how he's got a golden shell gauge. Listen well, you destitute mongrels. This is how you make use of your assets. I actually find it very entertaining that his shell gauge is golden. Of course, everything of his would be golden. Unfortunately, or fortunately rather, even the King of Heroes is not immune to adorableness. Oh shit, I have more thank you do. Alright. I mean, to be fair, I did bust out Tamamo. Thank you do is a rational response. I like how even though I've got the thing that's like, oh, your attacks don't bounce anymore, they still bounce off of him. That said, he doesn't actually seem all that tough yet. Granted, he hasn't, like, gone into his second phase yet or anything. I think that's the... No, I was gonna say, I think that's the first time I've ever seen Gilgamesh use a weapon in his own hand, but that's not true. Also, I brought no gems to this. I have seen him manually hold a sword when he was killing Ilya. I should probably try to repose him when he does a melee swing, come to think of it. Okay, this shell gauge is not golden. I also feel like this one's evaporating faster than the last one. I'm not being very chatty, but I'm kind of focused on the fight. Going off of his health bar, I'm about a third of the way through it. Maybe a quarter. There was that riposte I was looking for. Saber's getting stabbed more than a little bit, but it's okay. Saber can shake it off. I'm more than a little bit surprised that he's calling out Enkidu before, like, an enraged face. I would not have thought of Iori as somebody considered worthy. At least not right out the gate. I like how he has the same type of shield as Saber. Right, shell cage number 2 is gone. Oh? Oh? You've struggled well thus far. Now I'm excited. I shall show you a fraction of my power. That damned boss wasn't fighting seriously yet. His strength seems limitless. But as a rogue, he's not at his full power. Don't let up, Saber. didn't even see the blade that hit me. I like how that sword that he's using leaves explosions in its wake. I wonder what kind of repercussions there might be for the ritual if we killed the ruler. Yeah, the fewer times in general that he's allowed to open the gate, the better. Given his propensity to almost one-shot me, I kind of feel like if any of those chains had hit me, I'd have died. Like maybe Saber would have done the once a fight saving me. Ow, 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 my bones. Like that, yeah. I'm not the biggest fan of being ragdolled so aggressively. Like, I prefer when I can hit the ground and just, like, recover. This gauge is getting kind of low. And this gauge is empty. I am a little bit upset at that one. Like, I break his gauge and he's just immediately like, no. I get a new one. That said, I feel like this one is breaking even faster than the last one. And now that I look at it, I think that the icon in the middle is less elaborate. So maybe shell gauges can only be restored a certain number of times in general. And like his golden shell gauge was just like the highest number that only he has. Just because it's a very guild thing to do doesn't mean that it's fun. Like, it felt less like Gilgamesh doing a Gilgamesh thing, and more like the AI just randomly picking the move that puts the shell gauge back on as the first move after it broke. Oh well, it is what it is. Hello? I was mashing. Like, if they're gonna have a mash where it's just, like, completely impossible to do literally anything, just don't have a mash. Just have a cutscene where he, like, knocks me down to 1 hit point or whatever. Pretending that I have any agency is not fun. Anyway, in any case, he's down to his last quarter of health or so. This should break the shell gauge. And assuming he doesn't just instantly put it back up again.
残念だったな。
Temporary spirit origin or no, I never thought that you would defeat me. Not bad. Not bad at all, Miyamoto Bjorn. And you too, Sue. Thank you for that. Looks like we somehow made it through. I sure am tired now. You may have your maximum you may have your waxing moon bauble then. Win the ritual and wish as you will. You certainly have the power. This invitation has some real jewels mixed in after all. Does that mean that you've given up for now? What are you saying? I will consider whether to journey with you or not once I've seen the end of the ritual. Is this serious? Ah yes, I must reward you for defeating me. I shall confer my treasure to you. Mysterious clay tablet. Yeah, nearly half an hour boss fight, mostly because his hit point was massive, and he kept putting up shell gauges without letting me attack him. Anyway, if you use it, you are not to lose in the ritual, understood? Now then, farewell. Like, the fight itself really wasn't that bad, actually. I vastly overestimated him. Like, his numbers were big, but his moves weren't impressive. He left. He certainly did. Well, since you said we could have it, we should use it well. Who knows, it may prove to be helpful. So, like, do I get Gilgamesh as a ally now, or is that like a mystic code? What's going on with that? Become his vassal is still an option.
そうだ。残らず収めよ。また来るがよい。
The wandering warrior who wound up into Kaodayu's service wielded steel as the Miuraya bodyguard. But one day, the wanderer encountered a giant, who would thereafter become the guardian of Yoshiwara. Wow, what a stud. Those arms, those legs, and that chest. You never skipped a workout, that's for sure. A heroic spirit, right? He feels like a berserker, and I'm a berserker too. We must be fate. Is he one of those unattached servants? This ritual can even summon things like that. Well, somebody sure is raring to go. Alright, mystery man. You better not go down without a fight. I need you to calm down. Rogue Berserker, the unshakable bulwark. Versus Musashi. I'm too used to how Iori fights. Like Musashi is comparable to voice Stance Iori, but not one-to-one. Red Light District doesn't want violent men. Yeah, is it just me, or did Berserker lose literally every single fight he was ever on screen for? Like, I'm trying to think if he got a single win, and none are coming to mind. Off screen, so no, he did not get a single on-screen win. Well, on the downside, he did get his shell back before the Noble Phantasm went off. On the upside, the Noble Phantasm removed most of the shell. We take what we can get sometimes. My healing items are getting kind of low. I should probably start taking this a little bit more seriously. Oh, that did a fair amount of damage, actually. Hey, who's dead? He won't fall. A million strikes are like so many bug bites to that iron body. I mean, if I had a million bug bites, I would throw myself into a river or something. That just sounds like hell. You must have been quite the renowned warrior. But this is Yoshiwara, Daiu's stronghold, so I can't back down either. What is all this racket, Musashi? Daiu, stay back, it's dangerous. Just get behind me. Yeah, well, aren't you a big boy? Just why are you carrying on like this, hmm? Foreign gentlemen might not understand what I'm saying, but perhaps my feminine charms require no translation. He stopped, or rather, he completely and instantly lost the desire to fight. Daiu, I was wondering, but do you know this man? Of course not. I'd never forget such a striking boy. But I wonder, there is a tenderness in his eyes as he looks at me. You've really never met? I guess that's what makes you Yoshiwara's number one. And this fine specimen is a servant as well, then? Yes, but I don't think he has a master. He was who was called a rogue servant. As for why he's appeared here in Yoshiwara, I was trying to figure that out, but... what to do? Perhaps we should have him get home if he even has one. The boy can choose for himself. Good sir, can you hear me? If you've nowhere to go, you can stay here. We could always use more able-bodied men. All the girls would feel safer with a bodyguard like you around. I can't believe it. He calmed down. This is great. Way to go, Daiu. Black ink braid. And we are now out of digressions. Alright, first things first, I want to see what happens if you actually become Gilgamesh's vassal. Unfortunately, I already ate before fighting Gilgamesh, so it looks like I can't top off before doing the leyline conflict. Oh well. Oh? Have you considered becoming my vassal? What? Yaha, swear fealty then. Let us depart on a journey to conquer this world, Iori. I can't believe this. I'm certainly at a loss for words. Are you serious? No, are you sane? Iori, you have to reconsider. That's right, I accept. Yes, of course. Refusing is the other... Iori, what did you just say? I said, I accept. Don't get in my way, Saver. What are you saying? Do you mean to abandon the waxing moon ritual? Saver, do you truly wish to obtain that bauble? How pathetic. The waxing moon is an imitation, Holy Grail. I have plenty like it in my treasure house. Wait, what do you mean by... Come with us, Saver. I will show you the truth of this world. If you do, then your wish... Nay, was there ever a need to fulfill it in the first place? That's... Iori? Let's accept the offer, Saver. It's an opportunity to serve a lord. This is not a bad outcome at all. Iori? Well, if that's truly what you wish for... Good, a wise decision. We depart at once. Hurry and prepare yourself. Yes, but before that, where exactly will we be going? Huh, did you not hear me? We are going to conquer the world. Quiet down. Do you not see the emblem on this medicine case? Everyone, bow your heads and be still. Show some respect. Yes, sir. We've been dragged into a dull squabble, but we also can't afford to overlook it. After all, I am retiring as a textile wholesaler. Now let us go once more, Iori. Saver. Yahaha. Was this for the best? A journey to conquer the world, achievement unlocked. Okay, I don't want to sit through all of this. So I'm not going to sit through all of this. We're just going to hit Alt F4, and we're going to restart the game. Those codes for 3 names and that's it? Oh, gotcha. I saw that I couldn't skip them and immediately I saw red. I sat through far too many unskippable credits in my lifetime. Anyway, I don't think I've forgotten anything. Other than maybe, like, doing skills one last time. I don't really have any, what's the word? I don't really have any, things that I particularly want. Yep, looks fine to me. Finally, a ley line conflict. We've seen a view like this before, haven't we? Yeah, that time the Bad Appeal kept us out, but you've changed since then, Iori. You got more than enough strength to break it down. I hope so. Let's get to Kanda and stop Shosetsu. This rogue servant can fight alongside you in the Sphere of Thought conflict. Seizing their location allows you to consume them and engage to have them fight with you. So, difficult stuff. If we go there together, there's an event, right? I think that's what that means. May as well go there first. What's set up over there? Are those clothes? It doesn't look like they're hanging laundry, so what could it be? That shelf over there? I believe they sell used clothing. They take unneeded clothes that are still wearable, decide on a price, and sell them. Is that right? It's nice that they don't throw things away so easily. Yuri, reinforcements. Don't let your guard down. Saber. Go there for now. Yuri can go here. Oh, darting dragon. Yep, Saber is going more or less in the direction that I would like Saber to go in. Just figuring out the best way to approach this. Yeah, this is probably for the best with that bounded field in the way. This is also an opportunity to restock on gems, come to think of it. And then he got chopped into kibble. Also, yeah, the attacks to slow down time, not slowing down time, kinda sucks. Just a little. This should be alright. Yeah, then Saber will go there and cut this guy off before he takes our place, so this is fine. Perfect, now we can move forward without useless combat. Saber's gonna get that next turn. I may as well go here. That is more or less where I would like Saber to go, so this is fine. Nope, Saber, I want you to go this way. Then again, I do need more stuff over here. So perhaps going here is better. Or passing through like this. Only the current location or locations adjoining it can be set as a stopover point. Okay, I guess. Oh, but if I pass through here, then I can get that stuff, so actually... I could have Iori come through here and then kind of like circle back around this way. That might be a better idea, actually. In addition to a place like this, many Ronin idolize Shosetsu. I guess that's the same here, too. We're still against killing people. Holding back is so much more effort. I get an action for free. Oh, some kind of trap. Our enemies are suddenly moving faster. I guess we have Ryder to thank for this. What a pain. Looks like they're all taking 2 actions. I'm a little bit afraid of what happens if Tamamo gets contacted by an enemy. I'll just match like with like. None of that. I'm probably not beating this one in time just because a minute's not a lot to get through a shell gauge. Never mind, I did do it in time. Lucky fishing pole. Among some other stuff that I didn't have time to read. Okay, now we're back to the servants taking actions as well. One nice benefit of having Iori fight all these monsters is every monster fight that Iori goes into is more gems. Anyway. This is fine. This guy kind of looks like something out of a Minecraft horror mod. Oh, he goofed my screen. That's the first time that's happened. Definitely not beating the timer, mostly by virtue of the timer has already expired. Not sure where the camera went up to Narnia, but it is what it is. Hitbox not quite where I thought it was. There we go. And immediately I get jumped again. Yeah, like I say, boss was basically just an HP sponge. He wasted a lot of time, but that's basically it. Ooh, Soul Eater. Been a minute since I've seen one of these. Not quite as elegant as I would have liked, but there's another thing dead. I'm more concerned with this thing. Yeah, Saber intercept. Does Saber go back to where I left him? Awesome. That I can leave. Alright, we're gonna take a 5-minute break here. Please use this time to refill your beverage, go to the bathroom, anything that would take you about 5 minutes. I will see you shortly. I return after a bit less than 5 minutes, but who's counting? Oh, are they taking 2 moves per move? That's a little bit harder to deal with. Thank you for the head nods. Let's do a shadow stitching. Saber can go there. Yori can go here. Yori can go here. Saber will go there. I'll get rid of that thing and get my node back. I think Saber just killed somebody. I do want Saber to move like this. Yori can move like this. Saber's gonna go there. At the same time, Yori can go here. Which actually I think cuts that enemy off, so nice.
Yoshi.
All that's in our way is the battlefield. But the battlefield's already gone. Oh, Arya's also giving me 2 moves per move? I did not realize that was what she did. I will summon Caster just in case. Though I kind of don't really need her right now. Now let's see where to go with me. Seriously can do as she pleases. I thought summoning Arya just gave me, like 5 more turns. I didn't realize that she was even better than I thought she was. Alright. Have the rogue servants stop fighting in the spirit font conflict to join your party, I guess? Assuming that there's no more spirit font conflict after this. I hope we can press ahead without an incident this time. Shosetsu's a military scholar. Let's see what awaits us. Stay alert to anything suspicious. This looks interesting. Mechanical dolls. overtly horrifying. Bounded field. Yui's not one to run or hide. Let's take up the challenge then. Yeah, the main thing that I'd be concerned about at this point in time is like... I finish this fight, and then there's more Spirit Clan conflict in like the south half. And like, Ari is not helping anymore. So yeah, hopefully that doesn't happen. Wait, was that really my first Phantom Spider? I could have sworn I fought more than one. Oh well. I also do hear Trader, yes. This feeling is the servant we fought at Tamanawa. We should avoid unnecessary battles. If only we could talk it out this time. I like how all the stuff in our path and like one of the deeper layers of defenses is just a mundane locked door. It's not terribly horrifying to me. The main thing is, like, the thing that makes, like, most creepy puppet type things horrifying is, like, the fact that they're, like, animate without an explanation. But here, the explanation is obviously magecraft. It's like we know why they're doing what they're doing, so they're just kind of in poor taste more so than scary. Like, fear generally comes from, like, not knowing something. Or, like, not being able to fight something. We know what caused this thing and we can fight it, so it's not really all that scary. You youngsters kept me waiting for so long, I was about ready to brew myself a cup of tea. So you're the one guarding this place. Well, huh? Just like you've been befriending rogue heroic spirits, I've made an alliance. So you're under Yuli's orders. Seems like we have to face his guild general. Now, Miyamoto Biyoi, allow me to ask you a question in her place. What wish brought you to this ritual? For what purpose do you stand in her way? I can't allow innocent people to be hurt because of the waxing moon. So, I'm going to destroy it. I'll put an end to this ritual once and for all. Ah, I see. That's enough questions. You must be getting pretty bored too, eh? Hi, Assassin Li Xuan. I'm here to test your mettle. Li Xuan of no second strike. The Bison vibes are probably because of his pose. Saber was like, no heavy attack combo finisher. We're doing a leg strike. Love when the move is meant to interrupt other moves, doesn't interrupt the other move. He's probably gonna try and put his thing up. So I'll be like, no. He's gonna get it anyway. And he's dead. Oh, now that was a match. Wherever you're from, heroic spirit, that was impressive. And that goes for you too, swordsman. I wonder how hard you have trained to hold your own against a heroic spirit. Aha, how exciting. Even falling to your blade would be a thrill. So he says. Huh. Yuri, what do you think we should do? He is a rogue servant allied with Yui. Killing him now could save us from grief later. Yep, let's get it done. No, our only target is Ryder. I had a feeling you would say that. As such an extent, assassin, we'll spare you. Huh, so be it. But I repay my debts. I'm not such a proud servant as to turn down your mercy. However, there is one question I would ask you, Sovereign Master. You said you're fighting to destroy the Waxing Moon's vessel and stop the ritual. And what of it? I understand your reasoning, of course, but it will be no easy task to accomplish. Valorous warriors, no, even those who merely seek valor don't abandon their desires. Do you think you're so free from the allure of having your wish granted? Ah, well, those sounds are reasonable enough, but I'm not so fickle. I won't give up on my convictions that easily. Perhaps that'll be enough. You should discuss these ideas of yours with her directly. But I suppose I have my own feelings on the matter. I will repay my debt to you, but I will not aid you in your fight against Shosetsu. Don't worry, assassin. I wouldn't ask you to. We'll settle this ourselves. You just keep yourself on the sideline. Make it go quickly. The girl is waiting at Sensoji Temple, ready to wager it all in the final battle. Shosetsu's at Sensoji. Who will come out on top? It's time for this old man to act his age and watch it play out. Oh, we're friends now. Let's hurry, Yuri. We don't have much time left. Yeah. What's the shaking? Could not Asama be... No. Oh, and I was sleeping so well, too. Thank you for the hydration. Gut-wrenching shocks like these are certainly one way to wake somebody up. Are you okay, Gramps? Those quakes. Let's look at the map, Yuri. Something serious might be going on. We've lost control of the ley line. Yuri, look, it's Yui. Did they do something to the minor spirit pond? Yui Shosetsu. Enemy or not, I'm impressed. This must have been prepared ahead of time. We'll have to fall back to protect Asakusa. Forget the surrounding minor spirit ponds. Disconnect from the ley line right away. At this rate, we'll lose all artilleric energy. Right, we'll confine Shosetsu at Asakusa. Yeah, you can call me anytime. It's done. Let's get back to Asakusa. I was kind of hoping that there would be a prompt to potentially kill Assassin. I wouldn't have done it, but I would have liked the option. This magical energy, Yui and Ryder must be at Sensoji after all. Have they already obtained the Waxing Moon? We have to hurry. I'm still not sure what the thing that Gilgamesh gave me does. A fox mask, the Saber War. How Saber got it without money is a mystery. Yeah, the, Oh, it reduces price of goods of Apollonia. Gotcha. I thought it would, like, let me summon Gilgamesh.
よくそうだ残らず収めよまた来るがよい
Cheap stuff. Yeah, sure, me as well. So you've come, Miyamoto Yari. Shosetsu. Rider, so your dissension was just an act after all. A grand performance. Did you enjoy it? Enough questions. Yui, where's the waxing moon's vessel? We already know you took it from Tsujikado's estate. Rumors spread fast. I only just placed it here, in the main hall of Sensoji. Just a little more magical energy to fill the vessel, then the waxing moon will gleam. Saber, your offered soul will mark the conclusion of the ritual. But first, I will ask you once more, Miyamoto Yori. What is your wish? What would you as a master ask of the waxing moon? My wish is something I have to accomplish myself. The endeavor means more than the result. If the waxing moon can truly grant wishes that people cannot grant themselves, then those who would be helpless otherwise should seek it out. However, that thing has no place in a moral world. That is your answer. A moral world. The phrase rings with selflessness. Selfless, just like you are, Miyamoto Yori. I'm not a selfless man, Yui Shosetsu. You're a soft and timid man, Yori, exchanging words before exchanging blows. Maybe so. Then as a soft man, I'll say this too. If you'd call me selfless, Yui Shosetsu, then what wish do you carry in your own heart? To me, you're the one who seems selfless enough to always walk the righteous path. So why devote yourself to the waxing moon ritual? It looks like dark magic to me. Don't make me laugh. I wouldn't care if it were dark magic. I will right all wrongs in the world. And then I will create a truly equitable society. Now that's quite the ambition, Yui Shosetsu. If I must rely on dark magic to achieve the wish, then of course it would be ambitious. To right all wrongs. That is the one wish I have in my artificial life. Oh, she's a homunculus? Artificial life? You didn't know, did you? I exist as life infused into a manufactured body, a homunculus. A homunculus? Is that what you said? I don't know the word, but it seems to mean some kind of doll crafted by sorcery. But Yui, you look... just like a human, yes? Indeed, my physical body is the masterwork of Lord Maurice Weekend. I'd heard that you came from a samurai family. After bringing me into the world, he died, and I was adopted by a samurai family. As nothing more than an automaton of meat, I wasn't supposed to have doubts or desires. And yet, when I saw how the world was with my own eyes, I became myself. I felt something. Something irrevocable. As soon as my heart filled with these feelings and desires, I couldn't ignore them. The injustice of this world taking everything from the weak. This blood-spattered hell. Ronin who have no way to provide for themselves fill every alleyway. Religious adherents aren't even permitted to keep their lives. The poor are still starving today, all while the rich sit laughing. Immorality, inhumanity, injustice, in Edo, in Osaka, in Nagasaki, in Japan, no, in the whole world, there is no end to it. Innocents who cry out with tears of bitter resentment. I can't, I just cannot ignore them. They say the troubled times are over, then why is there still so much wrong? What is wrong must be made right. That is why I seek the waxing moon. I see. Your wish is not one that can be achieved by normal means. I understand your logic. I don't think there's anything wrong with the wish itself. Even so, I draw my sword against you, Yui Shosetsu. I never intended to make you an ally. If you understand my logic, then that's sufficient. Miyamoto Yori, I see now that you are worthy of being a master. I face you with sincerity, and I shall take your life. I'm still kind of curious as to who Ryder is. Like, blade with no handle. Some kind of lightning thing, a weird connection to Saber, who's like a warrior of the sun. I don't actually know who that is. Ryder also gives off the vibe of a woman trying to present masculine. Or rather, like, a female character that they try to present as androgynous or masculine. Maybe I'm wrong. Why was I in water stance? Not the biggest fan of being juggled so much. Ignoring Ryder is definitely getting me hit a bunch of times, but like, Yui definitely looks much more fragile. Right, Yui's down. That should weaken Ryder. Like that, yes. Interesting that the pauldrons have their own shell gauge. We're kind of all in a corner. I feel like nobody's having fun in this corner. There we go. You are not inadequate as a master. I've told you as much before. Even so, my wish will not be thwarted by the likes of you. Is you still dead? Yes. Oh, did she just snap back up actually? Yes, yes she did. Okay, Ryder got the shell back. Something I think is kind of interesting is that Yuli's shield, rather than being like an immaterial thing out of magic, is just a big chunk of her. Right, Yuli's down again. Be gone, Pauldrons. Be gone, Shell Gauge. Be gone, Rider. Thank you for the headpats. And let me guess, now Yui does a command seal.
Rider?
Yeah, I knew that Rider was gonna be a girl. Shisetsu, your anxieties are all justified. This world is corrupt by its very nature. Twisted, repulsive, and groaning in misery. There is not one speck of righteousness. Indeed, if this world is bound for hell, insignificant insects be incinerated to ash. I have no clue who that might be. Preposterous. My true name is Ushigo-sen. Yeah, I don't know who that is. I am a demon child carrying the blood of Gozu Tenno, the god of Jidavana, shared Temple of Sakura, a child of Indra. She's Indian, that'd be why. I am a demigod. All living things prostrate yourselves before me. Bow your heads, and I shall end it quickly. Everything shall be crushed by my divine being. Everything. Actually, wait, is Indra Indian? I think maybe it's not. Rider, what's the meaning of this? You told me your true name. You said you were the heroic spirit Minamoto no Raiko. Lord Yuishino-setsu, oh master of mine. I am very much Minamoto no Raiko, but my true name is Ushigo-sen. The one who terrorized the Heian era. He was killed by his brother Minamoto no Raiko. That's right. We are said to be brothers, but I am me. I am the very demon blood that flows in Raiko. What? And so... Oh, that's right. Earlier you asked what the meaning of this is. But it should be obvious. In the name of righteousness, I will destroy everything in the world. Everything in this world, including myself. All shall be righteously destroyed. Preposterous. You swore to aid me in my wish, to sacrifice your very soul to that end. Yes, yes, I did indeed make that pledge. I will offer my soul. I did everything. Hid my name, donned that loathsome black armor, all for your wish. All to righteously destroy the world. No, Ryder. My goal isn't destruction, but to make the world the way it should be. Yes, yes, of course you would think that. Such a kind heart you have. But we cannot win the Waxing Moon ritual together. If I keep pretending to be Raikou, I cannot kill them all. I learned that from Saber and the others, and so I will take the ritual for myself and destroy all of Edo, humans and heroic spirits alike. After which I, Ushigo-zen, will use the wish-granting power to right the world. I order you by my command spell. Ryder, obey me. That's way too broad, it's not gonna stick. I do obey you, Master. Ryder, obey my words. Now you should have burned all three of them to have her kill herself, I'm sorry. Stop! Shosetsu. Did I not promise to offer up my very soul for your wish? As you wished, I, Ushigo-zen, will set the world aright. And now you got no command spells, so there's nothing stopping her from killing you. Stop. I cannot. Not until your wish is granted. How? How could something like this? Phew, looks like we made it just in the nick of time. Master, a great monster watches from the clouds, and Edo lies on the brink of calamity. Not quite. This is an order of magnitude worse than any monster. It's a kind of god, and a pretty substantial one at that. Piercing the heavens with divine majesty. It's not an enemy that we can take down easily. Master? Alright, don't make that face. Normally, all we would have to do is kill the servant's master, but that alone won't stop her. Correct. She has unlocked a powerful noble phantasm. Even taking my own life would not stop her. So, you had all of Edo's ley lines under your control all along, Shosetsu. And here she goes and snatched them all up with that monster, yeah? Yes. Vast magical energy is flowing through numerous ley lines into that divine being. Nothing else could explain that massive thing. That divine being and Ryder no longer require magical energy from me. There is no knowing if they stop, even after they destroy all of Edo. No, all of Kanto. That's not an exaggeration, is it? Yuri? The monster is deeply connected to many ley lines. So conversely, cutting it off from the ley line's magical energy should weaken it. Right, Shosetsu? Yes, your reasoning makes sense at least. Then it's decided. Master? Okay, let's split up and take care of those ley lines. For now, we'll have each group deal with one thick ley line each. First, we have Yuri and Saber, then there's me, and Shosetsu. That makes 3 groups for 3 ley lines. It'd be nice if we had a 4th group. Maybe I should... Yeah? Hold your horses, Yuri. I've got a plan. Hey, that's your cue. I know you're out there peeping on us. Lancer, you want us to sever the connection to the remaining ley line? You catch on fast. If you do that, it'll be a win-win for all of us. Eh? Eh? Master? Oh, come on. It's just a modern way to say that it's a good thing for everybody. If we don't stop it, the ritual is over. The ley line's magical energy will run out. But if the vessel gets destroyed before that, everything's over. Edo can drown in flames for all I care, but I can't let the vessel be destroyed. As you say, Master. Alright, it's decided then. We've got a good group here, that's what matters most. Operation Giant Monster Extermination is a go. Let's go, Saber. Yeah. The ley lines of Edo were in such disarray. What a sight. Taking that thing down is sure going to be something. Cutting off the magical energy. Just how much of an impact will that have? I have an idea. I need you to trust me. I have to take that Conda first. Just give me a little time. Did you see? I drove a wedge into the place where the monster's connection was severed. Once each group captures the spirit fonts for the remaining ley lines, we'll drive a wedge into the source to cut off the magical energy. Exactly. I'll seal off the flow of energy. This should diminish the monster's power considerably in spite of its size. Huh? And the spirit fonts we need to capture are Yoshiwara, Ueno, and Asakusa, if I'm not mistaken. All that's left is to decide who goes where. I'll take care of Yoshiwara. I want Ueno. Ari is there. We'll go to Asakusa. No, wrong. At least Ueno for us. It's decided. Everybody, if you're all out there. Okay, I guess I pick each one. Let us proceed, Master. What a hassle. Nevertheless, we must engage. And now I try to remember how to fight his Lancer. Listen up, Lancer. You can pity me all you like. That's your choice. But never try to help me without cause again. Mercy is beyond my reach. Yes, Master. Doing the horse a favor by exterminating it so it can reincarnate into a cute girl. Is that like a big grand order thing, or is that like an Uma Musume joke? Gotcha. The sphere has long forgotten the least glimmer of compassion. We done here? Hurry up and cut off the flow, Lancer. It is finished. Being severed from several ley lines has weakened the divine being. Alright, to Yoshiwara. Hi you, I'm home. Right, so I'm sorry this is so sudden, but... so you'll have to start a fight in Yoshiwara in order to stop the fox here. By all means, go ahead. It will be raised and leveled if the monster isn't stopped. Our town is in your hands. Leave it to me. I'll make sure it doesn't get a single scratch. Horse house to deal with, but more importantly, there's a cat right here. Yoshiwara's in your hands, Musashi. Lady Samurai, thank you ever so much for always safeguarding Madame Takao. She has never smiled so brilliantly or often as she has since you've arrived. Simple courtesans such as us could never provide the protection she needs. If it's not too presumptuous of me to ask, won't you please continue to watch over her? I can't open the map, but that's alright, I guess. I was kind of expecting it to just be a series of, like, fights like the one that Lancer had. Which I guess this kind of is. One of four, I believe. One down. And along the way. For some reason, you've seen a bunch of fox posting accounts to treat bats as flying foxes. There is such a thing as the bat-eared fox, but it's not quite the same. I've never heard a bat be called a flying fox. As like a general term. Like, I do know about the bat that is called the flying fox, but like as a general term, I've not heard that. And he's dead. Just two left now. I'll wrap this up in no time. I enjoy how there's a bunch of animals to pet along the route. Of course, the Berserker would have a bunch of ADHD moments petting cute fluffy things. Just one left now, and I got my Noble Phantasm back in time for it. I hope Iori's doing okay. Now what am I saying? I know he can hold his own. But the boy already has that thing inside of him, which means... after Ryder is defeated, surely... No, I shouldn't think about that now. Focus. Focus on the fight at hand. I wonder what she could be referring to. Is she talking about, like, a desire to, like, fight, perhaps? Or some 11th hour plot development that hasn't been expanded upon before now. Oh, there's only one of you here. Honestly, that's a bit of a letdown. No way, that's actually it. Ah, here they come. Shinmen Musashi will leave none standing. And it's that. That's a wrap. Time to head back to Dayu. No, there was a puppy there. Thank you, Musashi. Yoshiwara should be safe now, right? Yep, just sit back and watch the finish. With that, I'll go cut off the ley line now. Alrighty, Yori. The rest is up to you. Yep, a job well done. I hope it's going as smoothly for the others. That said, we're gonna save the game there. Because we're finished for the night. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it each and every time. Next scheduled stream is going to be on Wednesday. I haven't entirely decided what game it's going to be. But it might be Turnip Boy Robs the Bank. We'll see. Next time that I'm playing this game in particular is going to be on Friday. I hope you have an absolutely wonderful night, and I hope to see you again. Good night.